So hello everyone. I would just do a little bit of audio check. Neeraj, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yes, audible.
Perfect. So thanks a lot everyone for joining us for one more session where we'll be talking about oilseed today. And this is very important session because in the past 2 days we had sessions which were related to two very important baskets. One was on pulses, which we did day before yesterday, and yesterday we talked about another very important commodity basket, which was grain, including rice, wheat, maize. And today we are touching upon, as I said, like a very important basket, which has been actually pretty volatile of late, and that is oil seeds and edible oil or veg oil, whatever you call it. I would also take this opportunity to thank all our supporting organizations. Specifically, we have Alok ji here from Praramb Agri Trading DMCC. And thanks a lot, Alok ji, for supporting this initiative. Without your support, it would have been difficult in putting such an, I said that, excellent agriculture roundtable consisting of 4 sessions. We also would like to thank Bajrang International Group, Bengani Group, as well as MEIR Commodities for supporting us. Uh, this roundtable is brought to you by Global Grains and Pulses Council, which is a council working in sector of grains and pulses, as the name tells you. Know Your Commodity, which is a platform of ecosystem players from all across the globe working in agriculture commodity sector, and Honeybee, which is a boutique consulting company which works on intersection of agriculture, food, technology, and innovations. Now, without further ado, I would like to just make a small presentation where we would be talking about uh, three key commodities. Those three commodities include sesame, palm, and soybean. So let me delve into some initial groundwork which we would like to put on the table. So let us share some global outlook for these commodities. So all of us know that actually, like the edible oil is very important, and roughly, like estimated for 2025, we would be producing 255 to 260 million metric ton of edible oil. And in that, as you know, that palm always plays a very important role, and oil palm, or which would be close to 78 million metric tons, soybean oil around 65 million metric ton, rapeseed canola oil 36 million metric ton, and sunflower roughly 24 million metric ton. However, we know that the normative demand requirement is projected to be around 280, 290 million metric ton. So that means we are still consuming far lesser amount of edible oil than what we should be consuming. And that reflects the structural supply and demand gap. So if we see that over past 6 decades, oil seed yields has improved when we talk about from oil content equivalent. In early 1960s, it was roughly zero point 0.6 tons of oil per hectare. Now it has gone to the level of 1.5 tons per hectare. And looking forward, like we see that in next decade or so, the normative demand of edible oil would touch close to 330 million metric ton. And further, if we talk about the total area under cultivation under oilseeds or oil palm, it is close to 270 million hectares. And now going forward, if we have to take care of additional 15%, if we have to take care of our normative demand of 330 million metric ton by 2035, we'll need to find 15% more land, which looks very difficult. And that is also where palm becomes a very important tool, because when we talk about the oil yield per hectare, the palm definitely wins outrightly. Now going to the Indian context, as we know that actually we are expecting over next 10 years, India would be growing annually at rate of 8%. Currently we are just about 6%, but we see that improving, and if we take the average for next 10 years, it would be around 8%. And if we go by that margin, we are looking at the food demand is likely to increase at rate of 2.44% annually. And in 2050, India's total oilseed production is estimated to be something around 45 million metric ton. And correspondingly, edible oil production is estimated at between 11 to 12 million metric ton against a Hi, Neeraj, am I audible now? Sorry, I think there was some connection issue.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
audible and visible both.
Okay, perfect. My apologies, some connection issue. So oilseed are cultivated on approximately 20 to 29 million hectares in 2025, and by 2035, India would be having requirement of close to 35 million metric ton, which is actually what we need to find and focus that how we take care of such a increased demand. Now, when we talk about supply and demand in India of edible oil, so if you see that we have been having pretty decent demand, and of late it has not increased much, but at the same time, I would say that it is tapered a little bit. But the structural reason was that higher prices of a lot of edible oil. At the same time, governments push also to reduce the usage of oil, and this is where we see that as we move towards in our growth curve in next 10 years, this demand is going to start going back to increasing, and the last 4 years it has been roughly 28.4 to 28.2 million metric tons. Production we have seen this year dip because of we see that there is a serious challenge with the soybean crop, and so we'll see the production going down to roughly 12 million metric tons. That's why we see again import increasing close to 16.5 million metric ton, while for past 3 years we have seen the import dipping. But again, 25-26 would be here when we see revival of import, and again imports would be close to a million metric ton more than what it was last year. So supply looks at 30.1 million metric ton, and ending stock will end up with 1.9 million metric ton is what is estimated. Now, with that, we'll start with sesame. And sesame is an interesting crop. We all know that actually, we have seen that the global carry was roughly 0.25 million metric ton, production roughly 6.86 million metric ton, and global trade was close to 2.41 million metric ton. So that's if you put the carry and production, the supply is at robust 7.11 million metric ton, and that is also reflected in the price point also. And the use is close to 6.85 million metric tons and ending stock of 0.26 million metric ton. When we see the different production and export market, so if you see that Sudan, we have seen there is a better crop than what was last year in Sudan. Same with India, a marginally better crop. Ethiopia has also done well, and Nigeria, Tanzania, Brazil, all of them, and even Pakistan, they are having a better crop numbers than the last year. And when we go to exports, we see that Sudan, export will improve. They have been struggling to export because of various geopolitical issues happening in their own region, whether it is about logistic, whether it is about even taking to the market from the farmland, the produce. India predominantly consume most of what it produce, but still this year we see a slight increase in export of sesame. Same with Ethiopia and Nigeria and Tanzania. Brazil, it's I would say new kid coming out of block, and we are seeing that Brazil is aggressively pursuing sesame, and this year we see roughly 50% increase in their export. While they started from very small base, but there is a substantial improvement when it comes to export from Brazil. Now, when we go back to India, so carry was not too much, so 0.07 million metric ton, production of 0.86 million metric ton, and supply puts to be 0.93 million metric ton. Consumption, as I'm talking to you, because we consume a lot from what we produce, so close to 0.57 million metric ton was our consumption, and export would be roughly 0.28 million metric ton. So with that, I stop here, and I would request Alok ji if you can indulge and you can help us in deciphering the market of sesame.
Yeah. Thanks, Deepak bhai. Okay. This year, sesame seed, if I compare with the previous year, it has.
Sir, can you start your camera? I cannot see you.
Just a moment.
Yeah,
Is it
perfect.
okay now? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
If
sir.
you compare the sesame seed market for the last 5 years and this year, if I put, vice versa years, this year we have seen a drastically reduction in the prices, oversupply, and the stock at the China has increased. The total price reduction can be attributed to the three factors. Number one, there was oversupply because of the introduction of the Brazil, which was 2.5 approximately 250,000 ton last year, and suddenly they are talking about 400,000 ton, and in the future they were targeting about 500,000 ton. Which is quite a double of the supply. Then Pakistan came in between for the last 2 or 3 years, and again it added into the supply, which was traditionally was from African market, but now it has diversified into Pakistan. Secondly, what has happened now from the Pakistan, the transit time is only 10 days, 7 to 10 days max to max. So it has created, for the Chinese in the fluctuating market, they have become very comfortable that okay, you book the order and within probably in a month's time you will get the material in their warehouse. Whereas in the West Africa, you book today, you will get after almost 110 days or 190 to 120 days, because 55 to 60 days is the transit. So these two factors, the Brazil one and the Pakistan, has changed the dynamics of sesame seed completely. In the if you see the last 10 years or 12 years data, you will see the sesame seed was not it was a consistent product as such, to deal with, but not this year. Just to tell you, in figure form, last year we were trading at around 1400 to 1550 sesame seed, the same time last year. And this year, to sell even at 980 and $1,000 is a trouble. Chinese are asking, okay, let it go down further and we will see. And now the problem which could come in African origin will be, if you back calculate and everything, probably farmer will not get this year even 650 or $700. The reason being, Burkina has put 10% duty on sesame seed. If you subtract duty, from the farmer's account, because Chinese are not going to increase their price because they have 400,000 ton of stock. 400,000 is almost one third of their total annual consumption, which is too much. So the chances of market going up drastically or even marginally is very, very, very less. Secondly, so if you calculate the farmer's price at the farmer level, it will be 700 or probably 750, where duty is not there, which is very, very less when you compare with the last year. It was minimum of 1,200 or $1,250, plus currency playing another factor in all the African countries. It has appreciated. Tanzania has appreciated. Burkina has appreciated. Nigeria has appreciated a lot. So because of appreciation and reduction in the prices, farmers are going to get hit. So this year, sesame seed really is not it has become a difficult trade as such. You know. Now, if you look at the Indian point of view, I'm just adding the Indian point of view in between. Indian point of view, because they are buying because their own production. Uh, if you look at their minimum prices, if they import at $1,000, it is automatically a cheaper product for them. But as per their policy, they whatever they import, it has to be exported out in the form of hard sesame or whatever after value adding. So it is not creating a problem in the local market, but it has created Indians to at least look for the material which is cheaper and which is good in quality, which can be hulled or which can be further exported back to South Korean tenders or the hulled market. So this is the overall scenario which is happening in sesame seed as of now.
So, Alok, you rightly pointed out, we are seeing new players entering the market, right, which are capturing a
Yes.
substantial amount of, I would say, creating a little bit of glut at the same time, also capturing the
Yeah.
traditional African, origin-based uh, trade, right? Going
Yeah.
going forward, do you think this is going to continue? Because see, generally what we have seen is that the new entrant, specifically like Brazil, they enter
Mm,
because they see high values. Suddenly, they think that this commodity is going to fetch them
mm,
far more than what commodities they have been growing. But when then there
mm.
is a dip, then actually they are the first one to disappear. Do you think that that could be one of the trend where actually people came in, they tried, and 2 years, 3 years down the line, you'll have the same situation where they'll find that it is only Africa or maybe to certain extent country like India can take care of
Mm.
such volatility.
No, it could happen that after 2 years you will see reduction in the production in Brazil. They will not go completely out of the sesame seed. There are two reasons for that. One is that, okay, China, because of the Chinese market, the prices are going down. But Brazil has a market of India, and India prefers to buy, Brazil because of their color, because of their cleaning, because of their Sortex, Sortex nature of cleaning. So India, for Indians, it is better to have the Brazil goods for Halik. They are finding some of the problems in China because of their inherited, free fatty acid problems. Because if you keep longer time this sesame seed, the FFA becomes higher. So that's the inherited problem in the Brazil sesame seed. So because of that two reasons, they may not go for higher volume as they are saying that they will go for 600,000 ton or 700,000. I don't feel like, because China will never buy in 1 month or 2 months 600,000 ton. They always buy scattered. They cannot take at one time so much of big quantity. And if they keep more than 2 months in their origin or at destination, the FFA becomes higher, and then it becomes not usable for oil and other industries. So most probably Brazil will remain in the market, but they have to reduce. But at the same time, Pakistan will remain the three, because if Pakistan production goes to 500,000 ton, and because of their proximity with China and duty free with China, they are Pakistan is duty free in China. So because of these two things, they might take over the African market, especially Nigeria, because Nigeria, Pakistan, and Burkina, these three starts together in August and September. So they coincide with the with the arrivals. So that could happen. But Brazil is normally in June, July. So by the time they will ship, they will take, it will take time. And their transit time is 65 days plus from Brazil to China or Brazil to Turkey. Even Brazil to India is 45 days plus. So because of the transit time, they may survive, but not at a bigger quantity unless they change their seed and they do something for the FFA. Plus, oil content of Africa, what we are supplying or what we have been traded in is 52 plus. Brazil, Pakistan is 49, approx 49 around. So there is a difference. So crushing, like Japan market, they will always prefer, or the crushing industry will always prefer African because of the taste, because of the oil content, and because of the texture they are getting in their seed. So everybody will survive, in nutshell. However, we may not see that the Brazil will just go like pulses. They will increase double fold or threefold the production. There, that might not happen actually in the market.
I'll give one more thing, for maybe apologies for asking very stupid question, right? Because I've been tracking these industry, only for past 4 to 5 years. The numbers of Sudan production are so huge, but when it comes to export, right, I'm really amazed that whether they consuming such a huge amount, because their production number is always coming to close to 1.4, 1.5 in metric ton, and then
No,
export numbers actually doesn't make sense. But that's how
no, these
the
are
getting
the,
data of Sudan is a challenge.
no, actually, this 1 million ton plus is just the government data. The highest production they have ever achieved, probably to my knowledge, is 750,000 ton. And at that time, China was the highest buyer of, China and Turkey was the highest buyer of especially their Gadaref quality of Sudan sesame seed. And even that time, around 400,000 ton was exported during that time. So other than 400, so almost 50% of their own production, they are consuming there and there only. They have tiny industries, they have oil industry, they have halwa industry, they have so many industries there. They have even the oil industry, they are making oil and they are selling it up. So almost 50% they consume. But the highest, if you look at the government data, it is always, something in millions, but it is not exactly million.
No,
It's like
yes,
that.
sir. Yeah, because
But
actually
but
I
in
was,
In Africa, in
G,
Africa, Sudan, and to some portion, Ethiopia is the only country which consumes sesame seed at their end to this level.
right.
In other, like in West Africa and East Africa, unless you have hulling plant, unless you have, the oil plant, those are the only consumption which is finally exported out of it. But Sudan, they consume themselves.
Perfect,
And they
perfect.
have Egypt border also there. So sometimes, during this the war time, most of the sesame seed went to Egypt and consumed there. Egypt is a very big market for all these tahini and halwa type products.
Right. So the border trade also happened because of the current
It happens. The
political
current
situation there.
situations. Yes.
Perfect. Thanks for enlightening, because a lot of people who are themselves not trading, quote unquote, are
Yeah.
just analyzing. They would find it, because I tried talking to a few people in Sudan also, and I think because when you sit within Sudan, questioning
Mhm.
government data is not very smart thing to do,
No, 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 no.
and
Nobody does that.
right. So they
You
always
know,
came out and saying that no, we consume so much. So I was like, a little bit surprised.
no, they do consume. But even in the current facility, they assume whatever data they are giving, 60% is considered as data. So there is no argument, it is acceptable. Whatever they say, yes, it's agreed. So that's just
Perfect.
how it has been. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So let us move on another important commodity which India imports a lot. That is oil palm. So oil palm, what we have done is that actually we have put multiple figures of palm fruit, palm kernel, as well as palm oil. So if we see 25, 26, the palm fruit production globally was roughly 408 million metric tons, palm kernel around 9.4 million metric tons, and palm oil close to 81.6 million metric tons. Now, the large producers, because we are talking about the context of India, I've put in India, but the number for India is minuscule, right? We are not even, if you see in the graph, visible, because in palm fruit, if you see Indonesia would be producing for 2025 to 26, estimation is around 228 million metric ton, 103 million metric ton coming from Malaysia, and then Thailand around 20 million metric tons, 10 odd million metric ton coming from Nigeria. So, and even Colombia around 12 million metric tons. So, this is where actually we find that majority of the production happens. And others are roughly 34.6 million metric ton. And when we talk about India, we might just scrape through with the 0.4 million metric ton of palm fruit. Coming to palm oil, again, Indonesia is having the lion's share with the 47.2 million metric ton and 58% of the global production. Malaysia around 19.6 million metric ton. Now, when we talk about the palm oil itself, so the global numbers, the carry was close to 15.10 million metric ton. Production of 81.60 is what is estimated for 25-26, and global trade of 45.71 million metric ton. So overall, if you see the supply situation, it comes to be like production plus carry of 96.7 million metric ton, consumption of around 81.4, and ending stock of 15.24. So if you see that the consumption of palm oil has been increasing, if you look at past 4 years, all the way from 73.36 million metric ton going all the way to 81.46 million metric ton. One of the reasons for this increase in consumption is also the biofuel industry, which has also started consuming palm. So with that, I would like to invite Fadhil, who is from GAPKI, one of the most influential organization when it comes to palm trade. I would request Fadhil to start his video, and good afternoon, Pak.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, sir. I'm good, sir. Sir, we are seeing the revival of demand in India of palm oil, and but palm oil is again the prices are improving. Sir, your initial view, and how do you see that overall the business of palm oil from Indonesia? How is the production looking like, sir?
Oh yeah, thank you very much, Deepak. So let me first thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this roundtable discussion on edible oil and vegetable oil. So on with regard to the production of palm oil in Indonesia this year, we expect actually there is an increase, although it's not significant, maybe around 500 to 1 million ton of CPO this year. And then also we expect that there is no significant change in terms of the policy of biofuel, of blending of biofuel in Indonesia. But there will be some variation on the way that the blending being implemented. With that, we expect that our export to market to India, especially, is not going to be disturbed by the policy change and also with the production. And then if we also see that in August, for example, the Indian import of palm oil, what they call it, a surge, yeah, to highest to the highest. So, and then for the remaining of the year, we expect this is going to be continue. Although we also at the same time a bit concerned with the prices, of palm oil, which now I think also is not very competitive, yeah, or compared to other vegetable oil. That's what the outlooks look like for the remaining of the year. I think again for the next year, we hope that things are getting better. Then there will be no disruption in terms of the production and in terms of the policy change both in India and Indonesia. So with the import tariff that being now imposed in India, which is I think very helpful. We expect that also there will be no change in that level of the tariff. So there is predictability in terms of that policy also in India. So that's what, in brief, what I can share with you in terms of the policy, in terms of the production and export, and then also policies in Indonesia on palm oil.
Great part, Fadhil. So, Park, actually, do you also think like government of India should reduce the duty for refined palm oil because the prices has been a little bit on higher side for Indian consumers? That can reduce the prices.
Yeah, of course. That policy is up to the government of India, but in terms of I think the need for what I call it, containing the inflation, for example, I think it is good if, for example, the import tariff for refined palm oil be also adjusted to the level that help the consumer in India itself. Yeah.
Perfect, Park. Perfect. Sandeep, are you there? If you can start your video, sir.
Yes,
I
I'm
think
here.
everybody can start your video, so we can look at each other because otherwise a little bit confusing. Sir, after if you can start your video, the question is to you, Sandeep bhai, we are seeing right the palm becoming the king of the oil, right? How do you see going forward? Because India's demand is increasing for sure, right? There are no two thoughts about that. I would not be surprised, if we reach what we used to do it 3 years back to 9.5 to 9.6 and maybe even 10 million metric ton. I don't see that too far off. Because even the demand in India of edible oil after slum of couple of years has started picking up pretty well now. Your view, sir, actually, at the same price, even you feel that that demand will remain, or there could be some challenges there?
Thanks, Deepakji, for having me. The challenges are definitely going to be there. Palm, from the days of being a cheap man's oil or poor man's oil to a king of oil, has its impact on the demand. Previously, because of cheap oil or whatever the industry would call it, there was huge imports. And now with the changing structure of the business, biofuels coming into the play, the demand is going more into biofuel and food is getting shrinked. And that has an impact on the price, that has an impact on the demand. India, being a price sensitive market, is seen reducing demand of palm mainly because price competitiveness against our competing oils is getting narrow and narrow, which is giving them the option of moving to other oils. Palm on its own is also factoring in less demand if the price spread with the nearest competing oil of bean oil remains, say, $10-15 between palm and soya, the demand shifts to soybean oil. But when the discount goes to $100, that is when crude palm oil is $100 cheaper than soybean oil, we see demand coming back to palm oil. So this game of discount will determine the demand. And we see this in coming days. The discounts will remain narrow, and demand of palm, which was going to 900,000 tons or 800 to 900,000 tons every month, now we are expecting it to drop to 600,000 tons to 700,000 tons because of this narrow discount. We will continue to see this game being played. So on a overall tonnage basis, if we factor in yearly, 7.5 to 8 million ton is something which India will continue to import. Going back to say 9 million or 10 million will depend a lot how the price competitiveness will remain.
No, I totally agree with you,
Yeah.
Sandeep. But one more thing, other than the price, when we talk about the additional need of 7 million metric ton over next 10 years, right, has to come from somewhere, right? Now, per hectare oil yields, palm is the highest. I think there is no two thought about that. There is no debate on that, right? So in that scenario, don't you think that actually, when we talk about all the comma full stop of from environment to livelihood to as well as in protecting our forest, right? Palm makes more sense actually, in the whatever way possible.
Yeah, that I agree with that. That's where we support the government of India's initiative of local production of palm oil, and which is growing now. More and more plantations are coming up in Andhra, Telangana, and the northeast side. That's a good way of reducing the dependency and also increasing the availability. From the origin point of view, yes, there is very limited land bank available. In fact, practically very limited land bank available for production. But more and more companies are going into the R&D side by increasing the yields. Like for us, our company has come up with a genome technology by which we can increase the yields by over 20%, which we are now made available to the industry so that in coming years, focus is more on the R&D, focus is more on the yield increasing to meet the growing demand of worldwide. We anticipate that population of world will be close to 10 billion people by 2030, as against 8 billion now. We need to feed them all. So that's where more and more countries need to start growing palm. More and more countries need to have their local sources of oils. Palm will remain, it won't grow that much. We'll have a very limited sources. And within these sources, we'll have to meet the demand. And we'll also have to see other competing oils go for it.
But Sandeep, another very interesting, I'm saying that to me is that 50% of global trade is palm oil when we talk about edible oil. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yes, it is by default, it will also have inertia. Even if the prices are not to those level where it becomes cheap, quote unquote. I would not say that actually, that the parity has not to be there. But I'm saying that even if it is a little bit of premium than what the low price used to be when it used to be a cheap oil, still I believe that there would be consistent demand. Your views on that, sir?
Yeah, I agree. So we are at this moment into a structural shift of palm. It will take some time for the consumers worldwide to adjust to this reality that palm is no more a cheaper version of oil. They have been all these years used to huge discounts between competing oils and palm oil. That psychology, that structure of the business is changing now. We are definitely moving towards the higher palm prices. We are definitely moving to a structure where palm will no more be a cheaper oil. So that will take some time. Once people realize the benefits of palm oil, which so far was more price sensitive than the benefits of palm oil, but now focuses more on the benefits of the palm oil, and this is what will attract more and more people to the palm. And that is where people will be willing to pay up the prices for the palm and then grow the demand. So we will see a gap for next few years because of this change of structure and to get into the benefits of palm oil fully.
And your views, actually, industry should also play a proactive role in ensuring that the consumers are made aware about it and that this shift, it shouldn't feel, see, eventually it is going to happen, but it should not pinch you in a way that for example, when we talk about E20, right, there was so much of push by the government to make people aware that you might have 5% reduction in your overall mileage. But at the same time, you are doing it for environment. You are doing it for your own in forex reserve. So you are having so many reason for doing that. Don't you see that the palm oil industry should also, right, take that initiative in making this consumer be happy about paying more?
Yeah, absolutely. That is where the countries are working towards. It's like sustainability. Sustainability is now a part of the DNA of the industry. We consider sustainability a must. It's not an option. It's not a. It's a must. We need to have it. Same way is the traceability. Traceability of the oil right from the when it arrives in Indian ports. A consumer there, if he wants to see where this oil was produced, that is where traceability comes into play. So all this industry is doing everything to promote oil.
Perfect, perfect. So I go to know Sougata. Sougata, actually, do we want my friend Sandeep Bhan to take good orders from India rather than actually we produce from our own beautiful plantations some more, and maybe ask Sandeep to invest in India and put some plantation here. Your views on where are we actually for self sufficiency? Maybe let's take the seed, the genome seed from Sandeep, right, and do some cultivation.
So it's for me like Indian per capita consumption. Looking into very many states in India where it is still very low, as low as 10 kilo per capita per year, and therefore the growth in per capita overall consumption has to go up, and that's why exactly what you were saying, like the demand side maybe for import it is close to 9, maybe crossing 10 soon, and exactly this is the reason I think India have very rightly pitched for some reduce some dependency of palm import, at least domestically, and that's why it makes perfect sense, because end of the day India continue to be a strong importer as it is today. But dependency to the extent of 95-96% is not something which is good for any country like India, which is highly populous of 1.4, highest populated country in the world. And going forward, our agricultural land is not increasing, as you exactly said, that as it is not increasing for Indonesia and Malaysia. At the same time, in India, already 40 million hectare is under various oilseed crops. The oil productivity per hectare is low, and there exactly what palm is pitching is 1 million hectare at least by another 3 years. So far this year has been very encouraging. I think this is going to be the record year in terms of plantation. It is crossing 1 lakh hectare for sure this year. It may cross a little bit more, 1.1, 1.2, because planting material is available in India. As a company alone, we are doing nearly 20,000 hectares, where our base is 70,000 hectares. You can see almost 30-35% growth we are ensuring in single year. Having said that, another important aspect is that the policy what government has pitched, I think the fruits are coming a little late. They started in 21. The implementation actually took place on ground in 23. 25 has been a very good year. So our request to government had been that to extend this scheme to achieve the intermittent milestone, which is 1 million hectare. And there are a couple of states, as Sandeep was saying. Andhra Pradesh is, I will just correct your number because I'm very closely attached to the Indian industry. It will be 6 lakh ton CPO for sure this year. And from here, the growth is going to be year on year, minimum 25-30%, because it is low base. The reason is currently around 5.5 to 6 lakh hectare is planted, and the yielding hectare is only 2 lakh hectare. So gradually every year you add 50 to 60,000 additional hectare, which will get you at least 1.2, 1.3 lakh ton of additional oil. So the first milestone of 1 million ton of domestic oil, I think it is going to be achieved in next 2 to 3 years easily, because at least 3 new mills are coming this year already up and running, commissioned. And there are around 8 to 10 mills, new mills are coming, which is already started commissioning in next 2 years. In that, 3 of us is going to come from us. So largest hectareage of Andhra Pradesh is about 4 lakh hectare today, but a state like Telangana, which is doing very well now, crossed 1,30,000 hectares, and state like Assam and northeast few of the state, Assam, Tripura, Arunachal, they are making steady progress and adding 20,000-30,000 hectares each state every year. So these are going to be the positive story for palm. It's a long gestation crop. So planting this year will not ensure oil this year or next year. But the kind of momentum has been built, supported by good price for the farmer, because India, everything is smallholder farmer, and they choose this crop only when it is more profitable to them. I think at this point of time, the wind on their side, there is a good momentum, and it's going to continue as it looks like. At palm supply is not increasing, but demand staying strong, and energy diversion for palm is happening globally. So therefore, prices are going to remain strong, which is going to be a good factor for the domestic ecosystem to grow, where 2.5 million ton of palm will be also added to the domestic production of 12 billion ton currently, which aspire to go from 12 to 17, 18, wherever it government aimed to, because with NMEOP, they have launched NMEO, National Mission on Edible Oilseeds also. And therefore, some contribution, what is the incremental delta of domestic production of 5 to 6 million ton? I am hopeful that at least 30-35% is going to be contributed by palm. That's from my side.
Yes, so Sougata ji, one more question. Luckily, we were not native oil palm growers, right? So our farmers, they learn. They the corporations, the extension officers, the government, they support them and make them learn. Now, this is where actually, don't you think that this is a great possibility of leapfrog, where we can get best of the development from across the globe, while we can keep on fighting about GMO, non-GMO for maize, soy, and everything, right? At least oil palm, Sandeep talked about genetically enabled crop, which can give better yield. Should those experiments become more normal and more common in India?
So I think very rightly pointed out by you. But this particular oil palm seed or genetics research is a very, very long haul. So unfortunately, India has not done enough investment in this sector. At this point of time, what we are trying to do is to enable and fast track very high quality seeds, which is the research output of countries, and especially Sandeep ji is our one of sourcing partner. They have one of the best seed and best research genetics launched last year. So these genetics, these best high yielding genetics to bring in India to start the possibility to increase oil yield per hectare. I recently was in Malaysia in a forum for scientists where I understood that for smallholder India, AP is a very good example to produce 4 ton average from smallholder per hectare, which is achieved in India. But how we are going to copy it in multiple states is a question mark. I am not saying that all the states will achieve this level. But from here again, from 4 ton to again going up, and the different states where there are extreme challenges, like in Northeast, unlike Southeast Asia, you will face 2 months where temperature hitting as low as 10 degrees. So palm is actually not the crop which can do well in 10-degree temperature. But this is a unique problem with India. We have to crack this kind of a problem still to hold a global productivity level, which is a need of research, which is a need of good investment in this sector, where basically we develop genetics which can suit Indian condition and still can give higher productivity level. So I think private and public partnership should happen. We are making baby steps in this direction, engaging with government to make the research hybrid program, breeding program, which can get us good India-centric developed seeds in next 7 to 10 years time. That's the initiative we have already started. So I think more and more research and our focus in this particular sector, also investment has to come, so that we enable not only seed genetics, but the right technology, agroclimatic practices, where our farmer can enable to match the global productivity level, because your tariff and import duty is not a long-term solution. It's going to be a temporary solution, but you have to be globally competitive if at all we want Indian ecosystem to develop oil palm to a sizable level. As in your pie, it was not visible. What at least we want is at least we match Thailand, the kind of 3 to 4 million ton what they are producing.
No, I totally agree. In fact, like, Pak Fadhil is there, Sandeep ji is there, you are there. I think we should propose a center of excellence to the government of India, right? Who can, like, because you know that this mission and all that, right? It is given to a secretary, and then it, like, only when the stakeholders goes and meet, then it comes to the back of their mind. I think there should be a 24/7 effort where Indonesia can support us. You can, as a private player from India, you can support us. Sandeep ji, like, as an international player having interest in India, we can set up a center of excellence, right, with multiple government as well as Indian and Indonesian government and different stakeholders like you, who can have, like, the 10-year plan. So that will also give confidence to Indonesia that actually how much India would be importing going forward, how much we are producing. So I think there is a win-win situation. That it's a food of thought for all of us who work in palm. I would go to Dr. Suresh. Dr. Suresh, you have been working on sustainability, sir, and more associated with soybean. We'll come on soybean a little bit later. But your initial comment on sustainability in farm sector, sir?
Thank you, Deepak. Just for your information, the last sentence what you suggest, the Center of Excellence. Recently, we had an agreement between the Asian Palm Oil Alliance and CPOC. One of the agenda to be develop these type of centers to be support the palm oil in Asia. So we are doing this way. Being a Secretary General with this Asian Palm Oil Alliance, we are already in with the different sustainability agenda. We already have the sustainability benchmarking between the Malaysian palm oil, between the Indonesian palm oil with the India. So there is the IPOA framework available for Indian sustainable palm oil. This has the endorsement from the Malaysia with the MSPO and the ISPO from the Indonesia. So our take is to be developed, decide and implement the framework which can be applicable for the Asian regions. So we should apply the regional realities to fulfill our requirement in terms of the food security, oil security. So this is the mandate what we are having now. Yeah.
So according to you, what are the challenges in making palm sustainable, or it is too much of noise?
Actually, palm is really a sustainable. If you think, palm oil actually the hero. We treat it as a villain, and is unfortunate as an industry. We assume we are the victim. Basically, we have to be pro. We have to be much pro to be have the campaigns, the awareness, the communications to showcase the goodness of the palm oil. This is the only crop available which can be great oil potential. Is provide more than 7 to 8% more productivity compared to any other edible oil crops, including mustard, groundnut, sunflower, those soybean can say. And it also can sustain the longer term income for the smallholder farmers. And health wise also we have the sufficient knowledge available. We also published one book called the Palm Oil Myth and Truth, which has the scientific proof available, which will be beneficial for especially for the eating habit what we are having in India. The palm oil is the most suitable oil for all these holocaust system what is growing now. Our food coming from the other sources now. It is not the traditional era we cook ourselves in the homes now. More than 70 to 80% food what we eat is coming from the other sources, from the restaurant, from the hotel, from the outside. And palm oil is the only characteristics which can be assembled with the many requirements. So this is the narrative available. This is only about to the some of the competitive, I can say the other crops or the geopolitical regions. We are not admiring palm oil. Otherwise, the oil which fulfill our more than 50% of the requirement, nourishes our poor populations, how can be treated as a villain? So as an organization, we are also supporting these initiatives. We already partner with the GAPKI also, with the Godrej also available here. And we have, as a scientific organization, we have the sufficient proof and the data available which can show the palm oil is the best oil, especially for the Asian scenario. Thank you.
Dr. Suresh, you would have been always finding it difficult, heart and mind, right? Palm and soya. These are the most competing oil. I'll go to Nirav.
Actually, Deepak, was just the one sentence. I must say there's no competition, no comparison between the soybean and the palm oil. Soybean is the protein crop. When we talk about the soybean, our first determination with the nutrition security of the India or the Asia is not about the oil security. Palm oil is about the oil security. Thank you.
No, I totally agree, Dr. Suresh, but this is the perspective. Sandeep bhai was saying that अगर soya ज़्यादा बिकेगा तो palm will be sold, palm oil would be sold less. So
Yeah.
yeah, so this is it goes beyond just the scientific discourse. It goes about money. So when we talk about money, the person who makes money for a lot of trader is Nirav bhai. So Nirav bhai, off to you, right? How do you see the palm oil outlook? If you want to touch on price, that is fine. But how do you see that demand being picking up? But is it that demand going to go to soybean, which Dr. Suresh loves, and palm, which Dr. Suresh thinks from his brain saying that it is a good oil? Over to you, Nirav bhai.
Yeah, thank you, Deepak bhai, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. So overall, I think palm is in a, I would say, last leg of coming out of the higher production cycle. Though we saw the biggest stock of 2.3 million of Malaysia, everybody thought that October end would be 2.3 million, but it happened to be September end, which is, I would say, happens sometimes in the market. So I think already this higher production cycle is there. So spot palm is little heavy, but as you see the audacious plans of Indonesian government, where they continuously keep speaking even B50, but even if we take B45, and the way the palm production is not no increasing year on year like earlier years, it's more over stagnating both in Indonesia and Malaysia. The SND seems to be tighter on the next year, and as we will enter into the JFM period, that is the low production period, and the stocks really come down. I think it's going to be a very clear uptrend from here for palm. And as Sandeep bhai has always been saying that no, we have to change our glasses that we see palm with. Earlier, we always used to see palm as a cheaper alternative or a cheaper substitute for other edible oils. And we saw that several months we were only able to import 3.5 or 4 lakh tons of palm oil because palm oil is expensive and then it didn't need Indian demand. So that is when we came to know the core demand of palm is with the institutional guys or the guys who really prefer palm even at $50 or $100 premium. But net, the story is that palm is in itself a different oil with different characteristics, and it has its advantages. Yes, India definitely always wants a filler oil. So we now, for last 1.5 years, have started juggling between oils. So whichever is the cheaper oil, we import more. So palm range of import is generally between 5 to 7 lakh tons. Soya import is between 3 to 5 lakh tons. Sunflower import is about 1.75 to even 4 lakh tons. So this range that you see, we go to the higher end of the range if the prices are lower. Just now, the bean oil import is continuously good because it was every time giving us an opportunity versus palm or versus sun oil to be bought more. So this is how the trend has been happening, and this is how India as a consumer has been safeguarding its supply chain and overall its price parity situation. So I think the palm production and the palm price trend would be slightly on a higher move. The soybean oil, which saw in the Globe Oil time a good reduction in prices because of the Argentinian $7 billion scheme that came in. It came in very fast. In 2-3 days, we saw $50 fall, and in 3 days, that $7 billion was used by the farmers or the exporters or the importers. Like Indian buyers also bought about more than 350 to 400K. People say that Argentina sold to other destinations combined total 500K got traded, and other products also got traded. So bean oil at that 11, 15, 20 range is now trading at 11.85, 95 for the nearbys. So I don't think bean oil will also correct a lot, but yes, there could be because India has not been buying. Origins also want to sell some nearby. India has a well-supplied situation. Also, we are entering into the new crop harvest in the next 10-15 days. Already the new crop arrivals are there. Because of Diwali and Dashera holidays, I think the crushing and the arrival is not picking up. But I think post Diwali, we will continuously see good arrivals of beans, good crushing. Also, the local cotton and local rice bran oil supplies will increase. So definitely we will have higher domestic edible oil supplies. This year, the groundnut crop is also higher. So we are expecting that the groundnut prices and the price premiums will also mellow down a little. So all this is also going to impact the market here nearby, which might bring down soya oil or maybe a little bit of sun oil for the nearby period. But once we are done in the OND period, I think JFM period overall seems to be tough for even the Russian sellers because the farmers are not selling. The scheme profit taking, whichever the commercials there or the Indian importers want to do, or even the resellers in India who are selling on high seas or refined oils, those resellers will also be exhausted. So slowly and steadily, the market would definitely go into a slightly higher price bracket in the JFM period to see. But yes, I am also not very bullish that we might go a lot above no $1,200 or $1,250 level in soya and palm, unless and until there is a big major issue, because I think then the domestic crushes will increase. The domestic crushes will be top loading. We are expecting the mustard crop to be at least higher by 1 million tons. So there is going to be more oil coming out there, which will start giving us supply from second half March. So all those situations will work out. But net, I think dips are good to buy for Indian buyers. And for the OND period to JFM period, the trend is on a slightly upward movement.
Perfect. Nirav, you rightly mentioned about the mustard. Even like Nafit is sitting with a lot of mustard, right? So they last year they purchased a huge amount like from Nafit and from Haryana and all that. I think Rajasthan, Haryana itself contributed more than 2 million metric ton of government purchases. So even if they see that there is too much of boil, they can always liquidate that. But so far, I think government is not finding that the boil is too much to start in a big way liquidating. Secondly, on even the mandate for biofuels, right? Just like India, I've seen that Indonesian government also, right? They have taken their lessons, right? Now, what has happened with maize? Government of India, with all this chattery happening about 28%, 30%, right? I've been engaging with some very senior bureaucrat, and he said that actually, don't talk too much because this is just noise and it will fade away. You don't need to add your noise as well, right? So government is very clear in India that actually, with 20 kiya hai, abhi बैठो इसके ऊपर, right? So that this is what. So I believe but generally government, when they get onto a treadmill, at least they want to be seen as walking. They don't want to seen as stopped. So I don't think even Indonesia would rush too much in changing the apple cart, right? Going forward. Now let's see some numbers about soybean, and then we again get into discussion about the soybean itself, because I think this is the last crop which we'll be covering today. So when we talk about soybean, that's again interesting crop specifically in India for various reasons. Let's first of all talk about global numbers. So global numbers looks pretty interesting. So carry is of 125.6 million metric ton, production 429 million metric tons, trade of 187, supply 554, consumption 480. And what is interesting to see here is that for past 4 years, you are seeing the ending stock always being higher than the previous year. And this year also, we are looking at soybean to be at 136.6 as an ending stock. And most of that stock, unfortunately, would be in hands of US. And now let's look a little bit on the meal side. So again, we are looking at carry of 17.9 million metric ton, production of 287.7, global trade of 82.2, supply 305. And again, you see that there is not big, but unlike what happened in 2023, 24 and 24, 25, this time, the increase is marginal when it comes to meal. Now, when we go to soybean oil or bean oil, actually the carry is 6.0, global carry, production around 70.9, and supply of 76.9, and then ending stock a little less than what it was previous year. So you see that ending stock of soya oil more or less has remained range bound. While even if we are seeing that the production and the supply is increasing, so is the consumption as well. So there is more demand for bean oil for sure. Now, when we talk about some of the production centers and export centers, Brazil has done pretty well this year. We are seeing 4% increase in acreage and also yields, which is leading to from 158 million metric tons to 177 million metric tons of production. And that has kept the prices also in check because China is only, which is more than 100 million metric tons of market, is only buying from non-US origin. US, luckily for them, they are having a little bit shorter crop, not too much, but again, 2.5% lower crop in United States from 120 million metric ton to 116.8 million metric ton. Argentina is also is lower than what it was last year. China are dead about India. While we have seen a lot of numbers coming from government and different organizations talking between roughly 12.5 to 10.5, our own assessment is that the crop would be just a shade lower than 10 million metric tons in India. So I think our number was 9.95 million metric tons is what our estimate is. Paraguay, or in fact, you'll find that Latin America has done pretty well when it comes to soybean. All the countries, whether it is Uruguay, Paraguay, Brazil, except of Argentina, we have found that, and Argentina also because of lack of acreage, not yields, we have found that the overall, there has been increase. Ukraine, there is a drastic reduction because of the ongoing issues which were there. And this year, again, both acreage and there has also been in the part where the soybean is grown, because of war, there has been lack of sowing or no sowing at all. When we go to export, again, Brazil takes a lion's share and their export will increase by close to 7 million metric ton. US, 3 million metric ton less than what, was last year. That also, this is estimate. Depends a lot on how US is able to, liquidate their soybean to other countries. They're at good discount, so there would be interest. But at the same time, there are not too many big markets other than China available. So again, this number of export from US could be can be revisited after some time because currently a lot depends on how US-China equation goes. Paraguay is increasing. Canada is same. Argentina a little bit more. As Nirav was talking about, there was the garage sale because government came with a policy to support export and earn more forex. Similarly, Russia and Uruguay also are doing better than what they were doing last year. Now, coming to India, so I think this is, sorry. My apologies. Yeah. So coming to India, so carry is 3.06, production 9.92, sorry, my apologies, I said 9.95. So it's 9.92 million metric tons is what production is. Import, we are seeing it to be 0.70 million metric ton. Again, you see that import has been largely pretty flat in India because we only import non-GMO and that too from LDC countries. So that is minuscule imports which we see. Supply numbers is lower than last year. It is at 13.68. Consumption would also, we see that little bit of tapering down because we don't have right feedstock. So ending stock is 1.93. And one of the also reason is that crushing is continuously getting reduced in India is because we are not getting the right price for even soya meal. Our soya meal is super expensive when compared to the rest of the world, and hence the export opportunity a couple of years back, which was existing, it doesn't exist today as we talk because of the high premium. That is actually where we talk about our numbers of soybean. Now let me go back to Nirav. Nirav, India's number are not looking very good when it comes to production. We can always debate that SOPA is talking about 500,000 ton more, and I'm talking about 500,000 less. But end of the day, that is 0.5% only. So when we talk about real the issue is the low productivity because of lack of acreage. Do you think that this can become a trend going forward?
So first, I will say I don't know about the trend. I will talk later, but I think the crop definitely is lower this time. SOPA is also agreeing to that point. And if we talk about GGN, no, our number for last year was 11 million. This year we are initially keeping the estimate of 9.6 million with a slightly lower bias. So 14% is the crop lower. The carryover from last year is also expecting to be lower by at least 300 to 400K. Additionally, I think you are very optimistic at a 700K of import from Africa because in the last 2-3 years, what I am seeing in complete West Africa is that there is a lot of crushing capacity that has been installed there itself. And they are acting as competitors to India for traditional markets like Europe and other places. So I don't feel there could be that high import number from there. So that import number will be also slightly lesser. So our reduction cannot be covered up too much from Africa. Plus, the export last year of meal that we did was about, or the year we are closing is about 1.8 million. The current year that we are starting, we don't actually need more than 800 or 900K of export of meal. If we do more than that, then there could be a slightly problematic situation on the later second half of the year. So that is the overall situation. Yes, also the trend I would say is slightly trending to be a lower soya acreage as of now, because the government policy is such that they are having a lot of maize and other products which they are encouraging because of ethanol. The bean prices for complete last year in the mandis, even after government procuring 2 million tons of soybeans, was trading at 41, 4200 throughout the year. Out of 12 months, I think the prices in the mandis was at 41, 4200 for 10 months. So the farmer was not getting the reward. This year, they started Bhavantar. We have to see how does the Bhavantar go. But Bhavantar is going to be only in MP. And now, if we talk about Maharashtra, the government in Maharashtra procures 1.2 million, but the crop in Maharashtra is much bigger than 1.2 or 1.5 million. So, what will happen to the farmer there if, because of Bhavantar, the prices in
Sorry.
MP's mandi is around 42, 43, 4500, whatever, then the Maharashtra farmer is not going to get a lot higher. So I think all these situation, government is not coming up with a clear solution where the farmer gets a very clear intention from the trade industry, government, that he should take up more soybeans. So I think this is very important to see on that side also.
No, Nirav, I totally agree with you that actually when we talk about Bhavantar only in one state where the other border state doesn't have that, right, it is going to create the problem for other state, right? Because eventually the price drop in MP will lead to price drop in Maharashtra as well, right? And then actually Maharashtra, there is no Bhavantar. So frankly, if you ask me, like, if it should have been the national policy, then it was fine. Otherwise, it will create far more problem than solution. Pathak ji, sir, thanks a lot for joining. Sir, your views on current challenges being faced in to the soybean farmers, where, like, one government, they have been audacious in taking a good step, but unfortunately not followed back by, like, another important state like Maharashtra, because that will create unnecessary, I say, disturbance in one state compared to another. Your views, sir. And sir, how do we improve the number of yield of soybean? Both the question to you, sir.
I think you just mentioned about the government on a treadmill. I would agree with you. It's on the treadmill. It's just not getting anywhere. So on soybean, the fact is that the productivity has been low. Last 30 years, we have been seeing that 1 ton is what we are getting. 2 tons is what we should be getting. 3 tons is a dream. We should not be even thinking about it because our crop is only 90 to 95 days. So I think that's a misconception that we should have 3 tons per hectare. On the productivity front, I think a lot needs to be done by the government as a policy measure. And I do not really think that there is anything worth a policy for oilseeds or edible oils. The farmer is not properly educated. The problems with soybean productivity are basically the seed. Of course, the weather is not in our control, so that will happen whenever there's a over rain or or a drought. So overall situation, we have seen the farmer has shifted to corn. Now, this year, roughly 500 to 600 tons of hectares of area has gone to corn, according to us. According to the government, it's almost 1 million hectares area which has shifted to other crops. So that's not a good situation to be in. Now, soybean is not an oil crop, as you rightly said in the beginning. It's basically a protein crop, and I think Suresh said the same thing. So soybean needs to be. I don't know. I think the industry needs to do something about it. And while there's a lot of talk by the industry, by bodies like us and all, the industry has to really now come forward. We have waited enough for the government, and government basically works on files, on papers, on policies, on writing reports and all. On the ground, unless the government and the industry work together with public-private partnership, I think we will not see anything going forward. So industry has to come forward. We have 185 plants which crush soybean. There are some large ones which have very big capacities and big stake in soybean industry. But sadly, none of them comes forward except for 2 or 3 to engage with the farmers to help them. And I'm truly believing that the productivity can be easily increased in the next 3 years to 1.5 tons, and then the next 5 years to 2 tons. In fact, I'm throwing a challenge that give me the resources, and I will show you in a particular district or any district for that matter in Maharashtra or Madhya Pradesh, and we can bring the productivity average to 2 tons. So I think the government has made the national mission on edible oils. Again, that mistrust the government has in anything that's not that doesn't have a national emblem or the Ashok Chakra. So unless the government also starts working together and trusting the industry, and industry comes forward to invest at least a part of their funds into cultivation, we will continue to face the same problem year and over year. And there's already a clamor and a lot of talk about why do we grow soybean as if we don't need the protein also. So I think the overall everybody has to work together. And industry, I'm more worried about the industry, which should come forward. And I'm happy to say in the recent conclave which concluded, the maximum talk which I had off the record or off the sidelines was that we should get together and do something about soybean productivity. We must increase it. So I think we will see something happening very soon on the productivity front by the industry. So that's encouraging news. And I don't talk about prices, So that
no, I totally
experts.
So totally agree with you, sir. So now actually, I understand and the pain has come to the industry, and industry would do something about it. But the problem is that the farmer has already waited a lot, and actually it shows his desperation when it is moving to maize, right? That actually he has in a way seen that now the price neither productivity, it's a thankless job to grow soybean, right? We from our own vantage points, we can see that it is a protein crop and all that. But for farmer is that actually na bhav mil raha hai, na antar mil raha hai, right? Na yield mil rahi hai, kuch mil hi nahi raha hai. So it is his incentives, right, to continue doing soybean. I think, in fact, this year was a breaking point. I was in with a lot of farmers, right, and I was telling industry time and again that they are at the point of inflection, right? For 2 years or 3 years, they were waiting that kya kare, and then actually ethanol policy gave them an option कि क्या करें, right? They were staying with the soybean only because they were not having option. जो बोलते हैं ना, no other alternative, right? Now they got one alternative and they suddenly switched. And if the maize price remain about 19 to 20 rupees, they'll make far more money than actually they're making in soybean, which will encourage other farmers also to do that. Now that's where actually I believe industry has to be doing something about it.
Deepak, it won't happen. The 12 million hectare will not move to corn. That's just a wishful thinking. There are areas in Madhya Pradesh and Marathwada and Maharashtra where corn cannot be grown. And corn, I don't know how long the corn and ethanol story is going to last. Of course, the government's E20 program is very, very, very sort of encouraging. So the farmer will grow it. But how long will he keep getting 20 rupees or 22 rupees? That's a matter of question. And soybean productivity can be increased. And we do need protein. So I think the government has woken up to the fact that soybean needs to be encouraged. I think farmer has also to sort of understand that he needs to do his bit. Now, when the technology is available, is being provided, the farmer has to, shed that casual attitude towards the kharif crop or soybean crop and be serious about it. Because, as a matter of fact, in adjacent farms, you can see productivity of 1 ton and 2 tons. Now, that is because of no reason other than the farmer's apathy to soybean. That the farmer also has to set that, and this helping the farmer by giving all the time giving subsidies or bhavantar. This is a very short-term solution, and this should only be done when the problem is caused by natural causes. So you have excess rain, your farmer's crop is destroyed. Certainly, he should be helped to get the MSP. But if everything is normal, then I think the farmer has to look for himself, and the industry and product must help the farmer and the government to increase his productivity. Seed is the biggest problem, where some investment must be made by big companies. Nobody does seed in soybean because it's the most problematic seed. So the problems are really known. Deepak, you know what the problems are. It's only that we know the solutions also. It's only that we have to act. And the action is what I hopefully keep saying should come in and should come soon, because it's already too far away. Farmers are moving away from soybean. And if they continue to do that, then there is going to be a real problem, not only for the farmer, for the industry also. We have a huge industry, big investment, big employment. What will happen to this? So the time has now come to sort of really act and work on it. All of us together, industry, the government, people who are in the technology field like you, we have others like Nirav. So we all have to really work together now.
Perfect, sir. So, Dr. Suresh, question to you, very rightly, Pathak have talked about, soybean. You have been working, I've seen your work on ground in Madhya Pradesh, where you are working very closely with the farmer, with technology. But again, we have seen that support, whether it is coming from industry or whether it is coming from government, right? It is not to the mark where actually, it is making sizable impact.
Yeah, you can say basically this is happen, but I just want to be clear. We have the sufficient better varieties available which can be produced 3 ton per hectares. We have sufficient examples available. Just talk from the neighbor country like Bangladesh. They are having average productivity 3 to 3.5 ton per hectare with the 90 days crop. Even their crop is even the 88 days only. Okay, so there's the technology available. The only issue to be have the interest from the private sector and also to treat this soybean crop as a protein crop, as a food security crop, not only on the feed crop or the oil crop. Even we have the opportunity to grow the soybean 3 times in a year. Varieties available which can be grow in the winter season also. And we treat soybean just the rain-fed crop. We do not do any water management for the soybean. This is the one prime region where productivity is low. If we just manage the water, excess water through different technologies and the less water through two irrigations during the crop cycle, this one factor can increase the 30% of the productivity. We have the sufficient examples available. Another is the seed replacement, no doubt, but the prime is the water management, basically what we need to do. And unfortunately, as Pathak Saab said, there's a 0% involvement from the industry to support their long-term sustainability.
Dr. Suresh, let me be be blunt on industry, right? I know that lot of industries love me. Soybean is not new to me. They also love me a lot. Sir, I know the industry themselves would be pushing, right? If the production goes down, allow GMO seed to come in India so that we can keep on crushing.
Yeah, this can be the one of the view from the some businesses, but just I provide the example. Bangladesh.
No, I'm agreeing with you, Suresh, Dr. Suresh. What I'm saying is that unfortunately, industry has been having a very myopic view about situations, right? Whether we are talking about ethanol, whether we're talking about soybean, right? We are having a myopic. What you said, right? But it's a long term. ये तपस्या है. You have to put 3 to 4 to 5 years. And industry wants input duty हटाओ, लगाओ, ये कर दो, वो कर दो, right? Are we seriously I would appreciate to see what your basmati industry has done. They work with the farmer in Punjab, Haryana. They've worked extensively with them. They've built that sector. That type of interest, unfortunately, apologies for my being blunt, right? I have not seen too many soya industry looking at that way.
Basically, it's all about the options available. Some of the stakeholders, they find the cheap soybean available from the other sources, so they do not focus on their own domestic support. And long-term sustainability will be comes from the domestic only. And I must say, if we support soya as a food crop, increase the soybean for the food purposes for 20 to 30%, it will be the change the scenario. For non-GM or GM, there is no issue. I am the certified scientist. I know basically the whatever the varieties we are having in India, it can produce 3.5 ton per hectares. In Brazil, Argentina, USA, there's a 180 days crop which produce 3.10 per day GM crop. So there's no question about the GMO non-GM. Maybe there's some other benefit can be available with the GMO non-GMO, but production side is only about the extension system, the technology to be adapted by the farmers, not about the GM or the non-GM. Yeah, thank you.
I totally agree with you. The GM is having its own pros and cons. I'm saying that if that is a debatable issue or that there is a lot of division in that, Pathak sir, basic extension, basic technology के लिए भी if industry is not coming out, right? Have not come out so far. In future they do it with your push, like all the best. And actually, I see you as a champion doing that or making that happen. But sir, actually, so far, right? It is more of a lip service than actual action on the ground, except handful of couple of companies, and that too because of their CSR, they have to do it. If you ask them in private, right? वो लोग CSR activities तक कर रहे हैं. बाकी they themselves, they don't have a vision that how they want to strengthen the soya or soybean based ecosystem in India. If you ask any of the large companies or small companies in soybean, tell that, do you have a vision paper for next 5 years for soya cultivation in India? I can bet you now, none of them would be even having a concept note. Forget about a complete paper.
Deepak, I think the fire or the water has come up to the neck now. So everybody will have to swim. If not willingly, then unwillingly. If they want to survive, if the industry wants to survive, it has to work. Maybe earlier the need was not there. They were making money, the crushing margin were there. But now the situation has completely changed. And importing is certainly not a solution. I'm not against imports, but importing soybean makes no sense to me today. I can argue, I can debate on it for hours together. As Suresh said, there are sources available in India. We have seed varieties where potential yield is more than 3 tons. I am sticking to 2 tons, that we should first target at 2 tons. 3 tons is a faraway dream. Seed, extension, water management to some extent. We already have broadbed furrow and all. And the farmer engagement is what is required. It doesn't really cost a packet of money, let me tell you that. If every company were to adopt, let's say 5-6 villages around him, and then train the trainers, I think the productivity will go up. I have seen this happening. We have done frontline demonstrations for the last 20 years. Never we got less than 2 tons per hectare. ICR has been doing frontline demonstrations. In non-irrigated areas, they get 2.2 tons. In irrigated areas, they get 3 tons. So the problem is not unsurmountable. There's not a big problem. The problem is only of acting and doing things properly. Some companies should come forward to develop seed, get into seed production programs. Of course, our laws are very bad as far as seed production is concerned, but then they are not something which we cannot overcome. The government is also waking up. How long can they keep spending this money, 5,000 crores, 6,000 crores in the Bhavantar? Let me tell you, if the soybean continues this way, and if they have to keep giving Bhavantar or buying under PSS, the government is losing so much money, they better give it to the industry or to the farmers to grow more soybean, to increase yields. So the time is come, and the industry is, I'm very sure, is waking up to the fact that they have to work. And we are all willing. We have concept papers. You said we don't. We do have a concept paper. We have the whole package technology. In fact, in 2015, I gave a whole.
मैं आपकी बात नहीं कर रहा था. I was saying the individual company. अगर आप किसी को जाके पूछोगे.
I know. So I'm just telling you, 2015, I gave a paper to one big company. In fact, the biggest, maybe even today, at that time at least. I don't know where the paper is gone. Because nobody wants to spend anything. And CSR funds or no CSR funds, unless they spend, the problem will continue. And one day, I'm telling you, the poultry industry will demand that we want to import soybean meal. And unless we wake up and get them meal available at a reasonable price by growing more soybean, the farmer will go away, the poultry will go away, we will end up importing, and the industry will end up in a soup where they have to log their plants. So the industry will wake up. I'm very sure of that. Very hopeful. In fact, I'm sure that the industry is waking up and has woken up. So
the poultry and aqua industry is already asking for import of soya meal. In fact, I'm doing 2 workshops for 2 large associations, right? What could be the positive and negative impact of GM-based soya meal if it is imported, right? So see, people will find their way. Sir, the consumer cannot wait.
Obviously,
right? And nothing wrong in that. See, eventually,
nothing wrong.
So they have to find their way. Dr. Suresh, last word to you on this soybean saga. Sir, I've seen your work on ground, luckily, right? I've seen in the MP, great work you are doing and increase in the yields. According to you, one thing is definitely industry coming in and putting money. What else do you think, need to be done from the government side or from any other sector where we can actually, start working, ensuring that in next 3 to 4 years, right, we at least double our yield what we are having today. It looks very, very pathetic. Like, when you go about soybean, talk about soybean in international forum, and then you come to know that actually we are like, the backbencher, the last one standing in the queue, right, with less than 100 kgs per hectare type of yield. That's look very embarrassing.
For my take, basically the three core suggestions. First, to treat soybean as a irrigated crop. It's not the rain-fed crop. It automatically will be increased at 20-25% yield. First. Second, we as a government need to be announced soybean is a protein crop. It's not only the oil crop. So we can increase the utility in the food system also by 20 or 30%. So the peoples will be encouraging. And third is about to be adopt the Indian sustainability framework. Basically, SOPA and the Soya Research Center along with Solidaridad already developed Indian Institute of Sustainable Soybean. It has all parameters basically on the different technologies, practices which can be adapted, or the good seed also. So these three, I can say the declaration can enhance the 50% at least the yield from the soybean by next 3 years. Thank you.
Perfect. Alokji, would you like to add something from African perspective on soybean? Alokji, are you there? Perfect. So I think Alokji, I think he's not there. So thanks. I think sir, please. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, would like to add some comment about the Africa, because if India is not growing sufficiently with the yield. Sir, आपका एक बार camera if you can on it, that would be great. Yeah. So sir, actually, if Africa can grow, right, soybean for us, right, it is eventually going to happen if we don't open GMO and we continue falling in numbers, which we are. We might need Africa. Nirav is saying that actually I'm optimistic for sure. One of the reasons is that actually, eventually we might not have the edge of import might end up being cheaper than actually what we are producing.
I will just give you the brief on soybeans, what's happening there. Because the season is just starting in another 15 days in West Africa. Nigeria, we are expecting around 1.2 million tons of crop of soybeans. In Benin and Benin, Togo, Burkina combined, maybe 700,000 tons. This is the only 3 or 4 countries which I am talking. No, I'm not talking about the East Africa, because East Africa season is from May, and this West African season is from now. Now means October end and November beginning. Now, if you look at Nigeria specifically, installed capacity is already 1 million ton there. The factories which are already there and which are already working, I'm talking, which are in the process of working is another thing, but the installed capacity which is already working is close to the 1 million ton. So we expect if the crop is around 1.2 million ton, and with 1 million ton, if Nigeria consumes themselves, the remaining will be 200. Out of that, there will be some, carryover stock and, the stocks for the other purposes. So I feel maybe 100,000 ton or close to 100,000 ton will be available for export from Nigerian market. Now, when you come to Benin, Indians are looking at $500 to $505. Chinese are looking at $520 to $530. So even if Benin allow export, the first thing Chinese will make, $10 or $15 they will pay higher than the Indian market, and they will try to take the Benin out of Benin to China, because Benin is registered in China as an soybean exporter. When it comes to Togo, Togo again has got installed capacity there, not much, but still there are something which, because Togo, most of the people are doing the organic export to US and other European markets. So I feel, even if you have 700,000 tons of crop there, maybe if China takes Benin, then there will be a very less quantity available for Indian market. If India matches China, then the flow can reverse anytime. Then the flow will be more to India, because most of the traders are Indian, so they prefer to trade with India. So all depends how the prices will be there. we started with $510 for Indian market and $515 for Indian market. They come down to $500. But I have one confusion in my mind. $500 and less $100 up to $120 up to Kanu. If I reduce $380 in X Kanu, if I have to pay to the farmer, why this million ton people will not increase their capacity and buy the soya and keep it for 1 year, and why the hell they will allow to export? Because $380 is good enough to buy for that. Because if I'm just doing the back calculation, I'm not assuming anything. I'm just telling if India is a buyer at 500, the farmer gets $370, $380 in his head. So why can't the factory people pay $380, make DOC and export? They have done it before. They have supplied it to Pakistan. They are already supplying to European market and other markets. So this is what the equation is. So all depends how in November and December, how Indian market going to react on the prices and how China is going to follow. If China is not taking US, if China is not taking other Canadian soybeans, and if they are looking out for the GMO soybean, even today they are willing to pay 530. If they increase to 560, Indians are out. It's very
Right.
simple. All banning cargo will go there.
Fair enough. No, yeah, I see China is like, the elephant in the room when it comes to soybean. And see,
When it comes to soybean.
beauty is that actually their productivity is increasing. If you see like, past 10 years, right, from roughly 12 million metric tons, they have reached to 20 million metric tons. At the same time, their import is also increasing. So I think like, a lot of people, when I say that, learn from China, because eventually, like when we talk about, rightly, as Dr. Suresh pointed out, soybean is a protein crop. So they are ensuring that their people eat more protein, right? Irrespective of whether it is grown locally or whether it is being imported. 120 million metric tons of like, consumption, right, is a huge number. And soybean is one of the most dense protein bean in the world. And that is what they are doing very smartly. I think this is a eye-opener for Government of India also. Like, how do we ensure we eat more protein? And it cannot be just for like, the people who are rich and people who are upper middle class who have their wheat flour also with 35% protein, but who are keep on eating something just to take care of their hunger, not take care of their nutrition. With that, thanks a lot. We had a great panel and all of you like, contributed immensely, and looking forward to see you again. Would request if you can join tomorrow. If it is of interest to you, we'll be talking about sugar and ethanol, which has impacted negatively to certain extent the soybean industry for sure. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Okay.